Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Amanda Werner, your host, and today I have the continuation of a conversation that I had with Adrian Martinca. Today we are continuing this really thought-provoking conversation, and Adrian and I are answering some really important questions that many parents, teachers, and kids have on their minds. How do we prepare for a future where AI is replacing the job market? And entire professions are being automated at such a rapid pace. And yet our schools are continuing to operate the way they always have, as if college degrees still guarantee career success. Adrian argues we're stuck in present future thinking, projecting today's problems onto tomorrow's reality, when we should be doing the opposite. Adrian talks about a purpose economy, shifting from the material economy that we have now to a purpose economy, one centered on emotional well-being, human connection, and helping children discover what really matters to them and what problems they want to try and solve. He talks about the inheritance conversation, starting that now. What kind of world, kids, do you want to live in? Let's start building that now. So join us, listen in on this conversation that really challenges everything we assume about education and the purpose of education and our economy, and start preparing and figuring out what it really means to prepare our kids for the future that they will most definitely be inheriting when we're gone. A quick note before we start, we do talk about heavy topics and about suicide. So just take care when listening to this information. It can be triggering. So take care of yourself. And then one other thing, we do refer to the alien, and we talked about in the episode before this one about AI, thinking about AI as an alien. So I just wanted you to know that's what we're referring to. We're talking about AI, and Adrian set that up in the last conversation we had and explained why that's an important concept. So definitely listen to the first part of this conversation if you can, because it was really interesting and, like I said, very thought-provoking. And I know this one's going to be too. So let's get started. Welcome to the Empower Students Now podcast, a podcast about equity, neurodiversity, mindfulness, and student engagement. There's a lot that needs to change in our education system. The good news is teachers have the power to make these changes now.
As an educator and as a parent, how would you define the things that's real and that's not real? See what I mean? Like, I think a huge issue that's happening in the conversations that I've been having is that many times people are talking about a future that, in my mind, as a technologist that's been in this so long, isn't real. Like that future is not going to happen. I think in our last podcast we talked about it was like you're preparing kids for the work and getting them to be like XYZ, right? And teaching them AI literacy or whatever, for example, right? But simultaneously, in the normal economy, AI is replacing tens of thousands of jobs. So by the time this child's going to be in the workforce, they're not going to actually have a job. So we're preparing them for nothing.
Yeah.
See what I mean? It's like not real. Like, and I think there has to be like a foundation of like what is real, in essence, of the future we're heading into, and what is not real in the future that we're heading into, because we are negating the material economy. So I think if our intention was to paint a picture of the future, I think there has to be some foundation of like comfortably defining what is and what isn't real, through some basic introspection, I guess, right? So like for example, if AI currently is on a fast track to being able to fulfill digital jobs like customer support, sales, analyzing like CAT scans, MRIs, like da 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 da, and then you're like, okay, you can ask AI. I was like, about how many jobs involve. I literally asked this like 6 months ago when I started getting incredible, like overwhelmed with the visions of the future of what's happening. I was like, if I am an employee that fulfills my job over a screen, and AI is exponentially evolving its ability to fulfill functions, how many jobs in the workplace involve the fulfillment of functions over a computer screen? And it was like, well, about 80%. It said something like crazy. It was like 80%.
Well, and I think when you're asking like what's real and what's not real, my mind immediately goes to, well, what's happening right now and what's happened in the recent past, right? Like within the last few years. And one thing that I was thinking about too, because you're talking about all these professions that require degrees, which is what our students are working towards. They're working towards graduating high school. This is right now, to
Yes.
then go on to college, to then get a degree. And that is supposedly going to guarantee that you have an income that's going to support you and your family. And none of that is guaranteed anymore. And like even professions that don't require a degree are getting replaced. Like I'm thinking about going to the grocery store and all of these self-checkout,
Yeah.
is that AI? Like grocery
Yeah,
store
exactly.
cashiers,
Yeah.
it's
Like those
literally just
Amazon stores.
computers. It's cash registers, right? Are being replaced by machines. But what were you saying?
I was I was extrapolating to what you said to the Amazon stores where
Yeah.
there's no human at all and no cash registers, just AI manages the surveillance system and automatically charges you based on your face to your Amazon card. So when
Wow.
you walk in, it just knows who you are, and it just like when you take something off the shelf, it automatically gets removed on your card. If you put it back, the money goes back on your card. It's like a fully non-human, non-human thing.
Yeah. And
But
and
as we
so
were talking, no, sorry, go on.
well, I was just going to say, like, I think a lot of people are, they're not in denial anymore, especially with this advent of AI chatbots and just how fast things have changed and infiltrated schools. And, like I said in our last episode, I felt like that was Google Apps for education. And
Hmm.
now
Oh,
it's,
true.
Chat GPT and Gemini
Yeah.
and just Google in general.
Yeah.
And all of these like really cool educational apps that teachers have access to. It's overwhelming all the technology that it's a
Yeah.
lot of schools, even low income schools, have access to because they're Title I, and so they get extra funding. Well, they used to get extra
Yeah.
funding. I
Yeah.
don't know anymore about the Department of Education and how that funding is going to work, but I think a
Or
lot
how
of
do
us are in denial, or like we don't understand how to change things. How do we help kids? How do we transform education to
Yeah.
match what's happening? And I feel like Adrian, help us, like give us the vision of the future of the pathway to
Okay.
empowering kids through all of these crazy transitions.
Okay. So in that, I think for the purpose of that conversation, for it to be effective, and also for it to align with where we're heading, the guiding star for it would be, it's funny, is how our children feel. Did I tell you that story when my son was born? What
No,
happened?
tell me the
Because
story.
it was the craziest thing. So it was the first night that he was little. It was just like he was born. We're in the hospital, and I fell asleep with him in my arms, and this like angel shows up out of nowhere. It was in the hospital still, so it was semi like a vision slash like dream, whatever. I was asleep, right?
Yeah.
But and she like looks at me, and for some reason, all of a sudden, I have my dream guide in my hand, and she slaps the dream guide out of my hands. She's like, "It's not about the dream guide. It's about how our children feel." Right. And as we've been talking, me and you, I had this realization because I'm like, talking about jobs, the economy, and all these things, like fundamentally, there is so much subjective, opinion-based perspective in all of this stuff that there has to be a central guideline, that we all abide by to be able to formulate this vision, right? And that one fundamental thing has to be something that we all agree upon. That way we're forming the same perspective. Because if we're going to all align the entire education system and drive a massive I want to call it an intervention, not like a reformation or revolution or whatever, like an intervention into our own selves, because technology is a mirror, really, then how our children feel is essentially that guiding star, right? Because if you look at it that way, then I'm gonna approach it. Okay, so right now my child is learning X. Then I have to take a moment because I do not want my child to feel false hope, for example, right? Or to be learning something that they ended up feeling like they wasted their time or something was put in their head, whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, if currently there realistically isn't a way where we can 100% guarantee that what we are teaching our children and how we're teaching them is going to align with the future that AI is actively rebuilding around us, then I have to focus on what it means to maintain and protect their sense of purpose, because their sense of purpose is their desire to live, right? And that is something that we're battling, because we are battling a massive mental health pandemic that's extrapolated into an identity pandemic, and it's extrapolated into a violence pandemic as well. But it's all based on mental health, right? Because all these social media companies and AI, whatever, is essentially leveraging a relationship with the mental health component of our children, while we the parents have lost that piece. And which means that piece itself is going to be the seed of the purpose economy, right? Because ultimately, no matter what happens, if we took the world the way that we built currently, because we're really in a world that we all created, like we're not, this isn't nature. Like we live in technology. Like we're talking to a webcam right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like so so in that transition, that means the fundamental aspect of a purpose economy is the ability for us to be connected as people, for there to be for love and compassion, kindness and understanding is also that building block of, because that building block can never be taken away. Like that is 100%. I can bet everything I have that I will not give my child a false hope for the future they're about to inherit, right? That we're building and allowing to manifest. So in essence, like feelings are going to be a very huge component, as well as the extraction of those feelings into social emotional learning, right?
Yes.
Which means that the education system, in its first fundamental shift, needs to realize that the basic learning blocks, like to take a step back, AI can deliver personalized learning. It can deliver personalized insight, right? But all that really is going to do is it's going to shrink a 13-year education into like a year,
Mm-hmm.
really, because it's going to be so incredibly efficient, right? And
Yeah.
there's also going to be so much stuff that you just don't need to learn because AI is your buddy,
Yeah.
right? So you actually don't. So now what you have is like, okay, well then why is there school at all, right? Like what's it preparing you for?
Mm-hmm.
But what it's preparing you for and where we're actually heading is a world that's no longer codependent on the material space, but it is in that transition, which is what we talked about before, is like that pivot is going to shake up the world from a mental health standpoint, right? Because ultimately the karma, like I believe in karma, and I think that the way we mold our relationship with our children is almost like a karmic lesson. And when you don't participate in that karmic lesson for you to become a better person and to learn from your child, which is really what I feel like we can all agree that we all become better people because of our kids. So if we disconnect with them enough that we don't actually participate in that piece of the inheritance process, which is this karmic learning between parent, child, community, and that's been completely taken away, then the karmic consequence is our present reality. The karmic consequence of not having that closeness is why children currently have so many mental health issues, or our society has an identity issue and whatever, because we're so detached and all of that time has been taken away to the 7.5 hour average screen time per day. So yeah.
I just want to respond to this beautiful story you told about when your son was born. That was very touching. And I credit you for throwing your book out and just looking at your little boy and saying, his feelings are what matter most. And right now, I mean, the school that I taught at, um, most recently, I mean, I'm not teaching right now, but they had like a very, they were definitely prioritizing mental health and had this center that kids could go to, and they hired, a school counselor to just, it's the wellness center. And but the way it's really hard because it's sort of been inserted into a system that's broken, because the system, it's so fast paced and kids have to go, they only have like 6 minutes between classes, and a
Mhm.
lot of it is lecture and textbook and just a traditional education, and everyone's competing for grades and everyone has to do a club, and they have to, it's a toxic achievement culture. And there's a book called Never Enough that I think really, it just explains a lot of where the mental health crisis is coming from. And it's this, this competition to get ahead. And even kids who have above a 4.0 and have done all the extracurriculars aren't getting into college. And so I'm just, I really agree with prioritizing feelings, and asking our kids, how are you doing? But it's like, how do you go from, kids having 6 classes and, they have like all these, like calculus and biology and, advanced English. Like, how do you go from that to what you're describing? Like, I don't know.
Well, see, the thing is that it's this is something that's going to happen to us, not something that we're going to do. Like that, what you're talking about is already happening.
Hmm.
Do you see what I mean? Because the demand for the child to know advanced whatever is no longer needed,
And they
right?
see that. Kids see that. And they're confused. And I think
Yeah, yeah,
conversations like this with
yeah,
adults would be
yeah,
so empowering and validating. But it's
yeah,
like, this is my future. What do I do?
right.
I'm
But
working
see,
on getting a 4.0 right now. Like, you know what I mean?
in
Like, what
yeah.
about today or tomorrow, Adrian? Could you help these
But
kids
it's
out?
not, but and that's the contradiction because it's like, and I think that's the contradiction, or whatever the right word. Maybe it's not a contradiction. It's the whatever the correct word is. But it's like I always just like to reference. It's like even our feelings currently, in a way, about all this stuff just aren't real. Like half the stuff we think isn't real, because even the concern, like yours, like for example, what you just expressed in your mind envisions a space of time that it takes that is actually like a tenth of how much time, like the time you think these transitions will take are going to be a tenth,
Hmm.
right? Because even currently, what we don't see, which is why it's like what's not real, is that the feedback mechanism that our society has around occupations and employment and our economy are based on a slow system. right? They're based on like papers and analysis. Like by the time the data comes for us to know what's happening, we not only are going to be like 6 months or another 6 months pass, but that 6 months in AI time is like 50 years of evolution. See what I'm saying? So now we're 50 years ahead in 6 months from now, and we're not even thinking about that. Right? So
Yeah.
there's pieces of our society because of AI, like all of a sudden you're going to have plasma drives or something crazy stuff's going to start emerging, which is going to distort everything again and again and again, which goes back to focusing on not get creating false hope and focusing on what's really important. Because every time these shifts occur and every time we allow ourselves to believe in something that is not real in the future, we're tearing our little children's hearts out because they start like kids need something to believe in. Like every human on earth does. Like most of us have memories of the first time someone outside of our family like told us they believe in us, and it sticks with you so much that all of a sudden, like you literally do things in your life because someone believed in you for a moment. And
Yeah.
so now imagine if that belief becomes not real. And that's why I think like all of these debates and conversations, like the only way for us to truly see where we're heading is not going to be through looking at education. It's going to be through looking at how our kids feel, because how our kids feel is a very amazing way for us to see the mirror of where we're heading. You see what I mean? Like if our kids have mental, like, yeah, I
Well,
mean,
maybe let's use a case study, like my kid, okay, for
okay,
example. Um, we're homeschooling. Aria has been in public schools and private schools, and it's not worked out very well for us. So we're homeschooling now. And I am a parent who's open to learning from my child and have, asked my kid, like, well, and also just by observing, um, like, how do you want to spend your time? Like, what do you care about? And what they care about is mainly birds right now, but also just all animals in general. And I've given up on, I mean, I haven't given up. I mean, if my kid wants to go to college, they can go to college. Whatever training they want, I mean, we're saving for something, but I don't know what, like I really don't know. And I'm okay with them not going to college. Um, and I think I've sort of made peace with that. And maybe that's weird. Um, but yeah, and I don't know if a lot of parents would say that. And some of my friends are like, well, what are the requirements for graduating high school? And I don't even honestly, I'm not even um, attached to that idea anymore either.
yeah.
Like even graduating high school, but I don't want to
Yeah.
like tell kids like just drop out.
I mean,
You know what
to
I
su to support your statement, you have the smartest being on earth in your pocket.
mean? My
You know what I
phone.
mean? Yeah. I mean, AI on your phone. Like there's nothing you don't know. Like your codependence on education for survival and success is no longer dependent on education. It's
For a
dependent on this
degree.
little AI being, that is essentially there for you. It undermines the entire concept of education as it is, which goes back to why these conversations are so tough with educators. But like it's kind of like and that's why I call it intervention. Like we're in denial, but we're only in denial because we literally don't know how to see past what is in front of us, which is seeing, rows of tables and the education system that's used to the workforce, and us like defining the success of universities, colleges, and schools in preparation for the workforce. Like, but that will what I was saying is like that's going to change super fast. Like it's not going to take 5 years. It's going to take the mental health thing is going to start getting driven so exponentially, especially now that online on social media, you no longer actually know what's real or not. Now this concept of what's real and what's not real has caught up to us.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe we talked about it before, but now it's literally so insane that you actually don't even like for all you know, I'm an AI right now. Like I could actually be an AI and you would not know. There are systems where you can participate in Zoom meetings as your AI self.
But what
Like
about your dog?
I mean he true. But I'm sure AI could animate him too, you know.
Oh, this is getting creepy. Now you're making me think you're AI.
Yeah, talking about how AI is not. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of went left, although I'm sorry.
No,
But
it's
you were
okay.
saying is like college and even high school. I think you're right. And I think that you as a parent and even an educator would see 1,000 if my child wasn't codependent on learning math or biology, that child would benefit 1,000 times more from personal development, from building relationships, talking to people, like learning how to communicate effectively, finding some passion and love for birds, and like going and exploring nature, like traveling a little, like go to the beach and explore birds at the beach, like go and do stuff, like enjoy the planet, like enjoy life. Like that's a purpose economy. It's like enjoy the purpose of the fact that you woke up and opened your eyes and are here.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I
What
think that's
about,
not far-fetched. Like it's really not far-fetched. We
but
just waste a lot of money as a
well,
society.
well, that's what I was going to ask you is what about money? What about income? How is my kid going to support themselves? Right. And I guess, yeah, I mean, if they're not going to graduate high school and they're not going to graduate college, which I'm sure a lot of my listeners are just shocked by what I'm saying right now, but they don't know my kid. And but I, like if they were in a regular school, they'd be in sixth grade. They'd be entering this, and they're in a high achieving, we live in a high achieving, quote unquote, school district, right? And even in kindergarten, my kid was treated like they were college bound,
Yeah.
and it's just like I don't, I mean, I believe in what you're saying and really asking what do you want out of life, like how do you feel, um what do you see that's dark in our world that you would want to change, and these are things you were saying in our last episode about just letting kids dreams guide us.
Hmm.
But I am still kind of hung up on this idea of like, well, how are they going to get money? you know
Right. Right.
Are they just going
But
to live with me forever? And then
well,
there's that topic of overparenting that
okay.
has
Okay.
occurred
I
that
see
we
what you're
could go
saying.
into as
Yeah.
well. But I don't know. What do you think about all that?
I think those are very valid concerns. I see those concerns go away in the future. And again, like I always need to preface, like I'm not I'm not talking about like socialism or communism. I'm talking about because like that's not what my references are. I'm just referencing a concept of a way of life. I still remember my parents teaching me about what life was like, both the good and the bad. When like because we are from Slovakia was socialist, but I remember them telling me like they'd get up, go to work, they'd be home by 2 or 3 p.m. along with their children, and they'd have the entire day to spend with their kids because you didn't have to work so much,
Hmm.
right? Like how much are we in America working because of debt rather than necessity?
We're working so nonstop. I mean, this
Yeah.
country. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all for because of convenience, not necessity. Right?
Hmm.
So now imagine, okay, so now we're in the future a little bit. And because the economy pivoted, we had to create a bottom line support system for our children and our families. So we had to, not from a socialistic perspective, but just from a family perspective, like all of our children and families can't be like stressed out over having a roof over their heads or paying their basic bills or being able to eat, right? So if your fundamental needs are met, which they are anyways, like we're doing that now, right? We're just going to do it a little bit differently. Like we are as a country meeting our fundamental needs. If those fundamental needs were met with a little bit more efficiency, like we have enough food and shelter and water and the basic needs for us to be okay. So in the future, literally us worrying about like how we're going to pay over for the things we have, like is a moot point because we have them. See what I mean? Like it's not like all of America is going to go be homeless,
Well,
you know?
but I mean, some people don't. I mean, this country is so inequitable. Like, there's just this huge, and I live in the Bay Area, and it's just the contrast between rich and poor is between two blocks, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And so there are people who don't have their needs met, their food, and safety and shelter. I
right.
mean, there are a lot of homeless people here in the Bay Area, and it's becoming more and more apparent, and it's increasing. Like, so I don't know if I
Yeah,
agree that but I think some people choose homelessness for a
yeah.
while, maybe. I
Or
don't
they
know. I
can't.
told my
What?
husband
Yeah.
I want to live in a tiny house. He doesn't believe it. Or a
Yeah.
van. I mean, like, what's wrong with that?
There's
Like, you know
nothing
what I
wrong.
mean?
The's nothing wrong with it.
If
I'm
you're
just saying
happy,
there's enough stuff out there for us to be okay.
yeah.
Like we could, like we're getting put in a future where AI takes away a lot of this stuff, where jobs aren't something that we have to do anymore. We still have all the things that we need for us to be okay, right? And the time we will get extra time. They're just similarly as in the education system. If you're going to incorporate, like you embed AI into education, you now create 80% out of the 100% efficiency. What are you going to do with the kids in the 80%? And now you're left with this beautiful thing that now you have the time and the freedom to help them grow as people, right? Not to teach them how to participate in the workforce. Now you actually can help nurture their soul, build their relationships, learn how to communicate, and spend the time that we need to spend, which is learn how to be a human, how to be an American family. So like we can all feel like we are a family and that all of our kids on a basic fundamental level aren't living under the pressures of finances or whatever else, that's currently detrimental to a lot of homes. Like a parent worrying about food not only affects the parent, but it affects children. It affects the entire family. It affects the community. It affects our safety in some cases. Like all that stuff will ultimately resolve itself because we're pushed into that space anyways. Like people adapt. We're gonna adjust our system. The key to the conversation that you brought up is preparing for the future, right? Which means that we have to, on some level, understand which problems are real. Like, are the problems we're talking about real now, or are they real in the future? Because
Well,
if they're not real in the future, then we can't add them into the equation of preparing for the future. You see what I mean? Like, because preparation, do you see, like, if you're preparing for the problems of the present in preparation for the future itself, you're creating, you're not creating past a future present preparation, you're creating like present preparation or present future. You see what I mean? There's a difference between future present and present future, I think, right? And if you do present future preparation, you're projecting the problems of the present into the future, which
yes.
is why we're in denial. Like we're in denial
Yes.
because we're projecting problems of a society that exists around us now into a society that doesn't exist.
Yeah. I get what
So
you're
we need to do
saying.
the opposite. We have to do future present preparation. So what is the future we want our children to inherit, absent of the problems, and let's prepare them for the absence of those problems, which means now we have to Like, which means there's no, hypothetically, people are kind in that future. People do understand each other in that future. People do get along. People don't need to worry about XYZ, right?
And
So,
aren't working as much.
yeah,
Like,
aren't working, don't have to work. Awesome. So if I'm not working because I don't have to, like that'll resolve itself in a different space, right? Not in our education system. Then cool, like what am I doing? Well, I'm probably spending time outside, like spending time with family. Okay, like what does that look like? Who can prepare me for that? Well, teachers can help us learn how to communicate. They can teach my parents how to teach me how to communicate better. They can guide us to kids to communicate with each other better. They can help me understand how I feel, the difference between feelings and emotions, the da 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 da, right? So it becomes this like purpose-based, soul-based economy versus the material economy. And that's what I think is the biggest contradiction because which is also this book, right? It's the exercise of being able to verbalize and communicate your dream using the dream guide in future present tense. Like that's the entire purpose of that book really is so I can identify how my kid feels and learn as a parent together with them to verbalize it in a future present tense so we can talk about the world we want them to inherit. And until we do that, we don't know how to do inheritance. Like inheritance doesn't happen from the present. Inheritance happens over time, and it happens by us choosing the future we want and adjusting the present for that future to exist, which I think is the kind of like it goes back full circle to the whole how our children feel. Because that's something we can all agree on from the future and adjust our present to align with it. Everything else becomes a debate and we pull in too much fear and doubt about our current economy, current systems, current whatever to actually even agree on it, and then we pull in all the other scary stuff, the doom and gloom, but you can't pull in doom and gloom for how your children feel and for purpose and for love and kindness. Like there is no doom and gloom for that. There like because we all know what it looks like. What do you think like the biggest struggle would be from an educational standpoint if society like so let's say like we're gonna no matter what the education system will be there it can transform but let's say there are no jobs like what do you think the biggest challenge for educators to pivot comfortably, right? Because right now the entire education space is really just gung-ho about putting the alien everywhere, but in the meantime the contradiction that's occurring is that because of that same alien the economy is no longer needing like an the majority of like for example this year 35% of college degrees themselves face accreditation issues because the alien has replaced those functions, right? So we can be gung-ho about putting the alien in the classroom and learning how to use the alien and all this stuff, which and talking about alien literacy, even that's funny. Like,
yeah,
let's teach kids about alien intelligence literacy, which is like, okay, like, what does that even mean in the
yeah.
future? Like, what does that mean in the future? Like, I get it now. Like, oh, a kid needs to know how to prompt to create an agent, whatever. But like 6 months from now, the alien will create its own little aliens, and it's going to get organized little aliens together, which is these AI agents, right? And it's going to fulfill functions of entire companies. Like it's not going to need a human to participate, like because the aliens know better. Like that's the truth. Like the aliens have more data, have more errors that were occurred, what I mean, in their mind than we do. So the education space really has to face that hard reality that sometimes I get a lot of pushback about because everyone is gung-ho for AI in education, but we're assuming in that space that the economy is the same, but it's not. So we have education has to shift to the new economy before it occurs, because otherwise we're essentially going to face a massive collapse of children's sense of identity and purpose, which leads in massive exponential increases in suicide, exponential increases in absenteeism, like you said, and just overall like the eruption of violence, because those kids who have lost their sense of purpose and aren't willing to just give up on life are going to get more and more aggressive about fighting for life or finding problems or whatever.
Well,
You
you
know,
you
it's
just you just answered your own question. You asked what would be the biggest challenge for teacher. Like what you're describing is the challenge. Like the kids' behavior. Like if we keep going on the path that we're going on and what you just said, letting the aliens take over and just trying our best to patchwork some lessons to teach kids how to use it responsibly and ethically and I don't know how, I'm sure there are
yeah,
teachers having these discussions in their classrooms, debates or Socratic seminars about like,
yeah,
the harms and the helpfulness of AI. Like I know these things are happening, but yeah, I just the system, the way that it is right now is the way it's always been since public education was created in this country. That
yeah,
kids are going from class to class. They're sitting in desks, and now we have Chromebook carts, and we have cell phones,
yeah,
and it's just like, but the system is still the same. The
yeah.
structure is still the
Even
same.
even those AI schools where they're like they don't have classrooms and all that stuff, right? But it's still the same economy.
Yeah,
So
and they're
even in
still
those
working to
spaces,
go to
yeah,
college, right?
exactly. Yep,
To get a degree,
yep,
to then get a job. And that
yep,
path is not guaranteed anymore, even
yep.
for kids who are majoring in like tech or whatever.
Yeah, even radiology. Like I was talking to this healthcare foundation because they wanted to help us. And me and the guy that's their CTO, he's like, yeah, it's crazy because my granddaughter just graduated with a radiology degree, but I just implemented technology where AI handles all the assessments. So AI reads the CAT scans, reads the MRIs, it is the radiologist. The radiologist like just looks at it, but that means now instead of need like for human validity, for now, right? Because for now it can't graduate on paper, but it has done, it's passed the all the exams from being a lawyer to being a doctor, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's like, like it's like my granddaughter is probably not going to get a job. Like he's like, it's very likely that her degree means nothing, which is that accreditation issue, right? Like we're not preparing for the transition and really the preparation for the transition is actually for us to come to the table as a people and not address what's in front of us, but address what, oh, sorry, not address what's present in front of us, but address what's going to be in front of us in the future, which is the freedom. It's actually a form of freedom, right? Like now we can actually all address the big issues, which is what you said would be like, how can I as a teacher help parents connect with their kids more? How can we as schools teach communities and parents and to connect and handle relationships and build deeper connections with their kids? And like, what are some field trips you could go on as a family, to deepen your bond and like and learn to break these like generational curses of like trauma that's passed on from like that's what the education system is going to be. It's all going to become about the soul and the mind and re-nourishing, what it means to be human back to actually having freedom from suffering, which is where we're really, ultimately we all want to experience some form of, no matter what religion you're in, some form of heaven on earth. But for us to get there, we all have to heal together. And but that's kind of where I was saying is like yes, I'm partially answering the question, but it's like how do we get the education space to pivot to that? Like to actually start exploring because they're so heavily exploring the AI space. Like how do we actually explore the human space? Like for the education system to start talking about like where it is that we're truly going rather than where we're at, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that question. I think it just because every school has different, you know, systems, every state, every district. It's like um how do you change? And I think it is grassroots. Like it has to
Yeah.
be grassroots at this point. That's you and I right here having this conversation right
True.
now,
True.
right?
True,
But
because you're right, because then it goes grassroots to the families.
yeah,
Like AI integration and so like security and like our foundation is helping schools, organizations with that. Like Technology for a Future is to help them get ahead. But at the same time, I always talk to them. I was like, this is not your biggest concern. Like your biggest concern is like how you're preparing the kids for the future, which will have nothing to do with AI. Like it will have something to do with AI, but it won't like AI is not going to help them make sure they're okay. Like in the end, the only people that are going to do that is their friends, are their loved ones, their parents, our community leaders. Like we also need to start believing in each other and
Yeah.
creating kindness, like you said, like that painting you have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have that right there.
Choose kindness. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what we need to do. Like that's the new education system. Because we
Yeah.
all have to trust each other, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much, Adrian, for everything you're doing. I really, really appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you.
Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode and the continuation of Adrian and I's conversation. If you found this helpful, please share it with a colleague or a family member, anyone you think that could benefit from the information that Adrian and I are sharing with the world to help you, parents, kids, teachers, navigate all of the rapid changes that are occurring in our world today.